Morning, dear students. Myself, P.L.Nareda, Assistant Professor, and I am going to teach you a poem, Light Shining Out of Darkness, written by William Cowper. William Cowper was a religious poet. Light shining, light shining mean God. Light means God. The poet writes about God, His grace in this poem. Light Shining Out of Darkness, a poem by William Cowper. First of all, we have a glance on Cowper. Cowper was a faith in Almighty God. He believed in Bible. He has much affection for his mother, and for this he wrote a separate poem also dedicated to his mother. He wrote many religious poems. Light Shining Out of Darkness is also a religious poem. It is a hymn and sung in praise of God. William Cowper writes about the works of God. He says that God works in a strange way. Dear students, let us start the poem. God moves in a mysterious way. God moves in a mysterious ways. That means the performance of the God is mysterious. We cannot guess about him. His wonders to perform. His wonders to perform, his works, his performance is wonderful. He plants his footsteps in the sea. He can go in the deep sea. He can that God can ride upon the storm. The storms which are very powerful, no man can cross the storm, but God can ride upon the storm. God can walk on the sea water. He can fly in the stormy air. Deep in unfathomed minds of never failing skill. God can go in deep minds of never failing skill. Many men also try to go in the mines, but many times they also fail. But the poet says that God can go into the deep mines and he never fails. He treasures up his bright designs and works his sovereign will. He treasures up his bright designs. God has many works which God hides from the man. And at the last time, he reveals his treasure and works his sovereign will. God works according to his will, and his will is sovereign. Sovereign will, no power is above the God. He is sovereignty, powerful. God is sovereign. Nobody is above God. The will of God is supreme, and He works according to his sovereign power. Ye fearful sands, phrase Christ take. The clouds is so much dread are big with mercy and shall break in blessing on your head. In the third stanza, the poet says that ye fearful sands, fresh grace take. He says that all the people, all the saints take grace from God. Ye fearful saints, fresh grace take. All the people, all the saints get grace from the God. The clouds is so much dread. The clouds is so much dread. The clouds, the problems that threatens the man are big with mercy and shall break. The clouds of problems are break with the mercy of God. In the blessing of on your head. When we get the mercy of God, all the problems, all the sorrows end. The poet advises us not to afraid of the dark clouds. Dark clouds means the problems which are coming to our ways, and he says that dark clouds will give rain, and that is the blessing of God. All the problems, all the sorrows will end, and all these things will be possible only with the blessing of God. When the blessing of God, you will get the blessing of God's, all the problems will break. Judge not the Lord by feeble saints, but trust him for his grace. Behind a frowning providence, he hides a smiling pass. A smiling pass. Again here the poet says, judge not the Lord by feeble sense. Feeble sense, weak sense. Feeble means you are not able to judge the Lord. That means God. The works of God are not judgeable by the feeble sense of the man, but trust him for his grace. The poet advises the people trust. The poet advises the people that we should trust God because God always shows his grace on the man. We always get grace of the God. So we must not judge the works of God according to our weak sense. We are not able to judge the works of God. The poet advises not to judge the work of God because man is unfit to judge God. Behind a frowning providence, luck, frowning, terrible, fearful, hides a smiling pass. The poet says that if God gives sorrow, frowning providence means sorrow, he gives also joy. The poet says that man will not know the region of God's work. The poet metaphorically says that problems which are like clouds, sometimes we think that God is not with us and we curse God, saying that God is not always with me or with us. But we should not judge the works of God according to our feeble sense, according to our weak sense. We are not judge. We cannot do right judgment, because when we face problems, the problems lead us to a smiling path. After problems, we get joy. His purpose will ripen past, unfolding every hour. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. In these lines, the poet says his purpose, the purpose of God will ripen past, ripen, open. The purpose of God will open very quickly. Fast means quickly, unfolding every hour. Every minute, every second, every moment, the purpose of God unfolds, opens. The purpose of God opens every minute, every hour, and every second. The poet uses a metaphor. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. The poet here uses a metaphor. Bud. He compares the fortunes with a bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. The poet metaphorically says that the taste of a bud may be bitter, but when the bud becomes a flower, it becomes sweet. The poet wants to say that days of sorrows are like the bud, and the days of joys are like flowers. Bud means days of sorrows. Flower means days of joys. So we should trust in God. Again, in these lines, the poet says, blind unbelief is sure to error and scan his work in vain. God is his own interpreter and he will make it plain. Blind unbelief. Unbelief, do not believe in the works of God blindly. If we do not believe in God, that means it is sure to error. If we are not believing in God, if we do not believe in God, that means we are forwarding, we are going to commit a mistake. Sure, it is sure we are doing a mistake. Error, that means mistake. And scan is work in vain, all in vain, useless. Scan, interpret. We cannot interpret the works of God. If we do, it would be vain. We are not able to judge the God. God is his own interpreter and he will make it plain. Plain, explain. God will explain his work according to his will. Man is not able to interpret the works of God. The poet says that God is omnipotent. He can do the thing which is impossible for man to perform. God is merciful. We should not criticize the works of God. God Himself will explain the reason for His work. The poet clears it. God is His own interpreter. Nobody but God own will interpret the works of His. Dear students, the poem is a short hymn of 24 lines. That means this poem includes 24 lines. It has 6 stanza of 4 lines each. There are 6 stanza and each stanza contains 4 lines. The lines are short. The rhyme scheme of each stanza is A B A B. The second title of the poem is God Moves in a Mysterious Ways. So students, study this poem and wait for the next poem, and subscribe this channel so that you may get new videos. Thanks.